So, congratulations on the release of The Prison Healer. And actually, my first question is that I saw the sequel, The Gilded Cage, is coming out in October.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's quite a short cycle between publication dates. Did you kind of have you written the whole series or a lot of the series already?
No, when I first signed on for The Prison Healer,
Mm-hmm.
we were in discussions with my publishers around the globe, and this is before COVID kind of hit. It was the end of 2019, and they were like, how do you feel about an accelerated release schedule for this? And I was like, how accelerated, because I hadn't even written the second book at that stage. But they floated the idea of 6 monthly releases, at least between the first book and the second book. And mostly so that, especially because this book is my big global splash. So I'm already well established in Australia, but from a global market, it's my first book out in the UK, and it's kind of my proper debut in the US. And so they thought, rather than waiting a year between releases, if we can capitalize on the marketing that's already, and the I guess the hype that is already running off the first book, and it bleeds straight into the second book, it could be quite a smart strategy. So I'm quite a quick writer, so I was reasonably confident that I'd be able to meet the deadlines, and thankfully I was able to, but COVID kind of made that a lot harder from a creativity level. But yeah, so that's kind of the background as to how we have 6 months only between the first and second. So yeah, it's I'm really happy about it now, though, because the first book, it kind of ends at this point where if I was a reader, I would want the next book straight away. So, so now I can be like, you don't have to wait too long.
Yeah, I definitely, I finished it like 2 days ago, and I was like, yeah, I am quite curious to know where this is going to go now. So I must confess I am interested to see, and I'm really excited that I don't have to wait too long. Can I ask how many books you plan to be in this particular series?
Yeah, so it's meant to be a trilogy. So it's really tricky because I'm now at that point going into writing the third book where I'm like, there are so many things that I could add to extend this. And I'm like, no, stop, rein it in. It's a trilogy. So I really am going to try and make it a trilogy because you don't want to wear something out. So we'll see what happens. But yes, Prison Healer is meant to be a trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you're getting shorter because Madoran Chronicles was 7 books. 7?
6 books, 5 books in a novella collection.
Right, okay. Obviously, I haven't read them. Obviously, I have read Whisper, which was a duology. And I think I've written a duology, and I think they work really, they're actually it works quite well. So it feels like you're going, I thought Whisper, especially, it was such a clean story in that regard. So yeah, it feels like you've gone from the big one down to little ones, little series now, which is normally the opposite of how authors go.
Yeah, it's not deliberate. With Whisper, I actually had originally intended for that to be a trilogy, but when I went into writing the second book, because the first book is so sharp and so like the action is quick, everything about it is concise, and that was kind of a writing technique I used for that. When I went into the second book with the content that I knew that I wanted to put into it, I knew I could have stretched that out into 2 books, but I thought it would have slowed the pace a bit. And so I'm like, no, I want to keep this sharp. I want to keep it to a duology. And with the Prison Healer, going into it early on, and as I said, it could easily extend, or I could come up with spin-off ideas. I have so many spin-off ideas, and I love writing the longer series. There's something very special about my Madoran books because I'm so close to the characters and close to the world because I've had so much time with them, I guess you could say. And so I certainly in the future will be hoping to write longer series again, but for now it's like you have to find the perfect recipe for whichever series you're doing, and for the Prison Healer that just worked out as a trilogy.
Right, okay. And actually I know I do want to talk about the Prison Healer, but I'm really interested, this is why you should never get a writer to interview other writers. I'm really interested by your comment when you said you went into Whisper with a really specific writing style. Can Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, it was something different. For anyone who's read my Madoran books, it's in third person, past tense. Coming into Whisper, I wanted to try something new. So even just from the basic level of having it first person current tense, it's a lot more introspective as opposed to like fantasy action swords and daggers kind of thing. It's more, there's a lot of psychological battles in it, and a lot of for a big portion of the first book, the main character doesn't even speak, so we're in her head to try and find out all of that. So it's just, I was playing around. I thought I always try to do something a little bit different in the books in each new series I write, because obviously as an author I have a unique voice in my books, but I don't want readers who have read the Madoran Chronicles to feel like they're reading the exact same thing with Whisper and to feel like they're reading the exact same thing with the Prison Healer. I always want it to be something that I always want to be growing as an author. I guess you could say with each new book, I want to be incorporating things I've learned in the journey. But I want my books to be accessible to new readers, but also enjoyable to old readers. So I play around, I try and grow, I try and learn new things, and I try to incorporate that.
No, I think that definitely comes, it's really true. And also, like, I think you can see obviously that because it was so introspective, and obviously because our main character doesn't speak across, a large swathe of the first book, like the technical challenges, of course, to make an introspection really, really not action packed, but, to pull you along. Like, honestly, I couldn't put it down. I actually, I read the first line and I was like, the first page, and I was like, good thing I don't have much on this weekend.
Sorry.
No, it was I really enjoyed it. And it's always really nice when like that technical challenge that you set yourself clearly works.